What's going on, everybody? No Jake today. We're going solo. Best bets, going through the entire board, breaking down every single game, as well as the touchdown that I like for every single game. Now, of course, a lot of prop markets are not entirely out just yet, so I'm not gonna say it's a bet if the numbers are not there. But we're gonna go through the entire slate like we always do. On Wednesdays, every single game, a touchdown. Unfortunately, no Jake, like I said. So give me 12 seconds here to get a tweet out promoting so we get all the boys in chat. And we will go and get started. I did a little bit of a dive into the board earlier today. And let me get this tweet out. I can't multitask. And I did a deep dive, and I kind of saw some stuff that I was already targeting. Some numbers that I think are a bit off. It's a pretty odd slate. We'll take like a holistic view quickly. We have the Chargers line 9.5 on the road, Lions 8.5 at home. That's a little bit less odd. This Niners Giants line a bit short. Texans Broncos also a total of the lowest 39.5 with all the scoring we've seen. Some Carolina stuff. Sunday Night Football, my Commanders get another primetime game already. And then we have Dallas, Arizona to wrap it up. So without further ado, boys, comments are open. So make sure you leave a comment if there are any games you want me to dive into, particularly any players. We'll see if their odds are available. And, of course, I'll confirm what leans and bets are. Sunday stream, we absolutely cooked. That was an awesome week. We were on freaking fire. And our game lines, even the leans from last week, Jake and I had a couple head-to-heads. I got the better of him on that, though he got the better of me in that little fun bet we were taking of like who would win first, the Titans or the Finns, with the Finns winning right then and there on Sunday. But it was a really great week. Monday was tough, but Sunday was awesome, as was Thursday. So let's do it, boys. Let's dive in. First game, Ravens-Finns. So finally have Lamar back. Good to go. I know all the nonsense with the practice report on Friday. Of course, he didn't play. Ravens still, even with that number coming down, a lot of Chicago money coming in with Lamar not playing, still even covered the number that was set earlier in the week with Huntley. And now they go face a Miami team that just smoked the Atlanta Falcons on the road, a team that I thought was more dead in the water. I know, like, talent-wise, they obviously have like a better roster pre-injury without the injuries. They're absolutely abysmal, but obviously have like a pretty solid overall roster and did only lose a couple of games by just a few scores, a few points, and late turnovers or things like that are what really killed them. But now they have to take on the Ravens team that still, even without Lamar, was looking like from a pricing perspective favorites in the division. They do come off a win with Snoop Huntley, and now we have Lamar back, and I do expect Lamar to be like as healthy and back as possible, considering they were cautious with him last week, didn't let him start, but now he is definitely a go. And for my narrative streets out there, Lamar is from South Florida. This game, of course, being in Miami. So for all of you Lamar, narrative street guys, Lamar is playing at home, at his home. Rather, he grew up not too far away from there. But let's look at the odds movement, because we've definitely seen some bit of line movement here. Looking like an open of 7.5, which is where I was looking at it, even an 8.5. Now it's been getting bet down a bit, but kind of back up to 7.5. We see some of the odds movement here as well. It got to an 8, 10.5. Maybe that was just for like a second there. That looks like that's saying that the Ravens were plus 10.5. That was definitely a mistake line that got priced in there. Lane 7.5, the hook on the road. Miami, a team that's really not as bad as their metrics, as we've talked about. And Jake, being a Dolphins fan, we talk about a lot. This New England game they could have won, Buffalo game they could have won, Jets game they did win, Panthers game they definitely could have won, Chargers game they could have won. Then, of course, they do come and finally beat Atlanta and get a win there. I don't have any strong opinions on this game. Like I do, I go through every single game. I'll do like a gun to head. I do think that I would back Baltimore, because I think Baltimore at this point, like, we forgot how good they could be, because a lot of their problems were obviously without Lamar, but also their defensive injuries. And now that is settled. And I think back a bit to a few years ago when it was a primetime game as well, when Baltimore was playing Miami in Miami, and Miami actually ended up winning as like pretty sizable dogs there. But that was Brian Flores defense. That's when things are really going a lot better in Miami. I don't think they could do that this time around. So I think obviously look for a 7 and track the market and see if a 7 does pop up. But definitely Baltimore minus the 7. Let's see if we can find one. 125. So that's too much juice to like pay for the point at this point. We have time for tomorrow, but I'm definitely looking to see if a 7 pops up for Baltimore anywhere. Total's a bit high, but again, I think the market has maybe forgot a bit about how, dominate this Ravens team is supposed to be and how good they are. So switch over to the prop screen. I'm going just to my number one guy here in this situation. I was talking about Zay last week when I thought Lamar would play. He didn't. I don't love these prices. I'm not going to lie. 115 for a guy like Zay Flowers. Obviously, it's a great matchup. Miami secondary is absolutely soup, though they do allow a lot more of touchdowns on the ground, as we can look at here, because teams are getting to that red zone. However they get there, then they're able to punch it in here. We had Judkins with the three-piece. Algier scored, taking one away from Bijan. That would mean that was kind of garbage time for Atlanta. Dowdle got in. They didn't really play a lot of great rushing attacks realistically, but Zay Flowers is definitely my touchdown scorer. I've talked about this a bunch, and it didn't come into fruition last week because, of course, Lamar did not play, but his target share was ridiculous with Lamar Jackson under center. What was his receiving yards at? 670. Receptions, let's take a look at, because this could be a lock-in. It's 5.5. Market's like fully adjusted on Zay, which is understandable as he's been absolutely cooking this number all year long, especially again with Lamar. But then back to the target share, 9, an 11 piece, a tough one against the Lions, an 8 piece. Then we have, of course, no Lamar. Still even had 9 with Snoop Huntley last game. I think Zay Flowers being clearly Lamar's number one option in his game back, that we're going to see him get back in action, get back in stride. So I definitely think that Miami is set to cover here. Baltimore set to cover here. I don't think that Miami, again, I know they got their win. I know that they're clearly not dead in the water overall, despite their record. They clearly are fighting a bit for Mike McDaniel, for whatever that's worth. But I don't see them keeping pace with Baltimore, especially if this game becomes a shootout. Tua's due for a terrible turnover. You know that he's going to fumble, throw a pick. One of those things are going to happen. It's just honestly, more anticipated at this point than it would be a random event. So comes ahead, give me Baltimore, but Zay Flowers to score is definitely going to be on my cards. And of course, I stream on Thursdays before the game, and I'm definitely looking at some Zay Flowers, though I do wish the price was a little bit juicier. I'm not going to lie, but let's keep going here. Let's go to Sunday. Atlanta, New England, 5.5 here. This one was 6. It was even as high as 6.5, as we see here. So look at some of the live odds, real-time odds. Even got down to 4.5, which is interesting. Let's take a look at some of the movement on the number for the spread here for New England. Patriots, of course, continue to dominate. Drake May continues to be great. And we're seeing a bit of, movement the other way. So this 5.5 looks like it's going to come down. So if you want to bet the Patriots, I think you still can wait. Looks like the 6s are going to be out of market for Atlanta. There's a 120 here at profit, which is still bettable. 365 combi and Hard Rock. You could still get that 6 if you're interested in Atlanta. Let's look at what New England's been doing. We know they've been killing it. They absolutely smoked the Browns, the best defense Drake May has really played so far. Smoked the Titans, smoked the Saints, beat the Bills, smoked the Panthers, lose to the Steelers, 5 turnovers, beat Miami in a close one, and lose to Vegas in the opener, which is obviously, week one's always a bit wonky. And Drake May has just been out of this world. That being said, how much has the market begun to respect Drake May and co? I think that's kind of the question. And I think at this point they're respecting him, amply. Atlanta on the other side here, of course, losing back-to-back games after upsetting Buffalo, and then they come out and look like one of the worst teams in football. Of course, they have that tough loss to the Panthers. They smoked the Commanders, which doesn't even look nearly as good, though there was no JD5. Beat Minnesota and could have beat Tampa Bay. So this team is one of those teams that just getting a grip on who they are is just not easy. They are a team that's clearly winning games that they should lose and losing games they should win. And that just claims inconsistency. Give me 1 second here. And by the way, we're using Outlier. If you guys want to try Outlier, 7-day free trial. Click the link under the tweet or in the description on YouTube. But this game, I don't have a ton of thoughts because I think that the Falcons are probably the right side, but I think betting on what's going to happen in Atlanta, and that I do think that Michael Penix will be playing. It doesn't look like Kirk Cousins is going to go again. I saw Kirk Cousins was complaining about not getting, enough playing time, and I want to take a look at the he wants to start somewhere, but he had his audition on Sunday, didn't do so hot. Let's look at Bijan. So here's where I'm now interested in Bijan. Yes, it's a 130, but with that being said, this is a guy who could be priced as high as 260 to freaking score a touchdown. And yes, look at these numbers. New England's run defense has been great. I'm going to pull up actually RBSDM as well and filter this the last couple of weeks because New England's run defense has been fantastic. We'll look at some numbers on Outlier quickly as well. Rushing yards second in football, as we see here with touchdowns against, as we saw before. Second, only 2 per game, and then against running backs, 0.4, which is third. Let me switch over my screen in a second. We'll go to week 4 and see, and we'll filter. This is defensive rush success rate. New England 6th in football. Rush EPA, New England 5th in football. So this is on defense. They're doing a great job of suffocating runners and not allowing success. Since week 4 we have it. If we go full season here, we can take a little bit of a deeper dive, though. Of course, we're trying to rate some better metrics, but still full season 5 here. 5 here. Let me just confirm I had my update here because Moon I thought was a bit higher. Let's go back to week 4. Give it a second. Yeah, so from week 4 on, they're 4th in rush EPA, and they are dropped down to 8th in success rate. So, again, still top 10 in both of those metrics. They're clearly doing a great job. But that being said, Bijan Robinson is a different animal. Look at some of the running backs that New England's faced, of course, like the shutdown. Judkins is not able to get in. Spears and Pollard, that's like a joke of a game. Kamara is absolutely cooked. The Bills could not get their run game going. James Cook had a great game on the ground in terms of like yards. But this is, again, a situation now where I think when you're playing like the best that you're going to face in terms of running backs, like it's him, Gibbs, and JT, when you're giving the odds like this low, this is definitely something that I've been looking to bet for Bijan. And back to the game line, let's look at the total. It is 44.5, which is understandable. The Patriots defense has really improved in all facets, again, especially in that run game over the course of the season as they got healthier and as they have played like a relatively weak schedule. But the Falcons, they're just so freaking inconsistent at this point, and trying to pick your spots with them is difficult. Not a game that I anticipate having like a side on whatsoever. So, guns ahead though, I'm laying it with New England. I do think that if you're on the New England side, you can wait. I think this market is steaming a bit more toward Atlanta and will eventually be more of like an Atlanta, 4.5. We might see it close. Sitting at 5.5 now, and it's gotten bet down. So we'll see how the market goes, but I'm not really so strong of an opinion on this one. But let's go to Bears-Bengals. Oh, the Bengals, Joe Flacco. We saw that Jets game. Everybody, obviously ended up being like the game of the Sunday slate. The Sunday slate was just god awful. In Atlanta, the Jets, of course, coming back and winning that football game. They did a great job, Justin Fields, to win it. The Bengals, Jamar Chase just continues to get absolutely funneled the football. Then you have the Bears. Let's look at the Bears' recent games, of course. Lose to Baltimore after beating the Saints, Skins, the Commies, Raiders, and the Cowboys all in a row. 4-game win streak, halted by like a much superior team. Then you have the Bengals, who are obviously trending in the wrong direction. They lost to Pittsburgh. They beat Pittsburgh, but they also lost those 4 straight prior. Lose to the Jets, which, at this point is obviously abysmal to lose to a team for their first loss of the season, especially one that doesn't know that the forward pass exists. Though, again, to his credit, Justin Fields did a great job. But this is another one. I wanted to look at Jamar touchdown. It's 125. Obviously, the Bears' pass defense is abysmal. This one is I would have liked closer to even money, but the thing is, it makes too much sense why it's this high. We have rec yards up. It's 89.5. Okay, so like I haven't looked at the props too much, and price is going to like obviously dictate anything. Like I can not really have a player on my radar whatsoever, but if the odds are telling me that it's an EV bet, I'm obviously going to bet that regardless of if I know or think he's like set to do something really well in that offense. With that being said, Jamar, his target share is just ridiculous with Flacco. 23, as we know, which is ridiculous. 19 against the Jets. Joe Flacco was doing everything in his power to throw the ball to Jamar Chase. Hence why his odds are that poor from like a value perspective. But, it's still worth a look. With that being said, though, I like the Bengals as home dogs. I really do. I think that Cincinnati plus 148, this number is the best to look at. If there's a 3, because we're seeing this 2.5 at 115. Let's look at the numbers here. This 3 at Profit X 103 looks to be around elsewhere as well. Let's check the liquidity over at Profit X. I think Cincinnati is absolutely live in this game. Yeah, not 103, $643. And it gets to 107. So definitely a play that I would look at is Cincinnati plus the 3. I've been talking about how the Bears are so overrated, and yes, this game should have fireworks, as we can tell by the total being 51.5. Ben Johnson's offense, got to give credit to him where it's definitely due, because he has been doing a great job with this team. Caleb, of course, still poor, but they're playing a very bad defense where I would expect, Ben Johnson to have like that coaching edge here. Zach Taylor's not a great coach. We know how bad the Bengals defense is. But I don't think the Bears should be laying 3 on the road whatsoever. The 2.5, of course, is expensive for Chicago. And if you do want to bet Chicago, of course, you don't want to have that 3. You want to get that 2.5. But with that being said, and that's at Kalshi, the 120, yes, it really is a 3 if you're laying it with Chicago. I don't see it. I really don't see it. There was a 3.5 as we see earlier today. It got bet up, which I kind of wish I hit. Honestly, I'll take the 3 at the prices now. But I just don't think that Chicago, like, they were getting so much of the variance in their direction with the turnovers. They were, getting situations where they were outgaining opposing teams with possessions because they were forcing turnovers, not turning the football over. But those things are not static by any means. So I definitely think Chicago should not be laying points. I don't think the Bengals are good. Don't get me wrong. But with that being said, I don't have the trust in the Bears to lay 3 on the road. Let's look at Chase Brown quickly. Look at his numbers: 125, 365, plus 115 at Hard Rock. If you're a Hard Rock better, Chase Brown has clear EV. So I would definitely bet that at Hard Rock if you have access there, regardless if you think he scores or not. I know it's been tough sledding for Brown, though, off a 2-touchdown performance against the Jets. The Bears have just had struggles all year long with their defense, with the injuries. And Flacco's going to sling it, right? He's going to throw the ball. He's probably going to throw it to Jamar Chase. And I think there's actually a recipe for success for Cincinnati. And on the other side of the ball, pass rush is going to be the key indicator here. I know the Bengals' our offensive line has not been great in pass pro, but the Bears have also not been great at getting pressure. They've been a bit better as of late. We'll sweep back to RBDSM quickly. Their dropback EPA on defense, like, they're 13th now. Dropback success rate, they are still down the dumps at 26. And that they're going to drop back with, Flacco. They're going to let him sling it. On the Bengals side, 31st in dropback success rate, dead last in dropback EPA. On the ground, not much better, 30th. Rush success rate, 31st. So I think the line does make a bit more sense when you break it down that way, because the Bears offense should be able to get whatever they want to a degree. But I don't think that the Bengals won't have. I think the Bengals will be able to score it just as easily. So I'm going to take the game. I'm going to take the home team with 3 points here. I like Cincinnati a lot, and I also like them on the money line. I think they can absolutely win this game outright and keep their hopes alive while the Bears go back to what they really should be, which is a 500 football team, as we've seen so far this year. So Chargers Titans. The market has given up on the Tennessee Titans. They're getting 9.5 points at home against the Chargers. Now, these games are normally closely played, but again, that was with like Mike Vrabel. That was entirely different situations. And the Titans are just absolutely dog water. Let's go and look at their against the spread stuff. Like, we know they did not cover last week against the Indianapolis Colts as 15.5-point dogs in Indy, which at this point, again, Indy is arguably the best team in football, which is honestly crazy, but it's awesome. Get smoked by New England, get smoked by Vegas, though that game was closer than the final score, but still they do not cover a spread. They have covered 2 spreads so far this season, and almost all of them, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, were by more than a touchdown, right? So this is not a situation where the market has just given up. Like, when would you see a home team getting 9.5? This was definitely 10.5, which I think just like pure numbers wise, like sharper guys are going to be like, how the hell are, as a home team getting 10.5 in the NFL, especially against a Chargers team that, while obviously I do think is a good team overall, it's not like they are the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Colts at this point as well. Speaking of Chargers, they blew out the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. They actually have this mini bye, which was great. We had the Chargers last week. Lost to the Colts. I actually had the Colts in that game as well. Beat the Fins. I actually had the Chargers. I was a loser. Washington, of course, they lost, and did not cover against the Giants. They lost that game outright as well. I don't think the Chargers are like this wagon, though. This is like a price for a team that's like a wagon. It just shows how low everybody is on the Tennessee Titans. And it's like so understandable because like who is going to produce for them? Like that's the question that needs to be answered. And there is no answer. Like, yeah, they had Tajay Spears back. He looked a bit spry. Like Pollard has had like a good year, like all things considered. Like obviously good with an asterisk there. What do you think about 27.5 total points for the Chargers? A team total that's that high for a team that I don't trust to score at will, because the Titans defense, despite all of their issues this season, they've really come offensively. Their defense is really not that horrible, especially on the ground, though we know that the Chargers ground game at this point is shot to hell. Over on the Chargers team total, let's take a quick look here. Team props. Chargers points 27.5. Best price we can get on that is 120 actually at FanDuel. So this is, I guess, technically an alternate. 27 being a key number for NFL totals. I honestly don't love this, brother. I'm not gonna lie. Like, opinions can definitely change by Sunday, by tomorrow. I'm glad to hear your case for liking the over as well, just to like maybe play some devil's advocate. Or I'm definitely open to be convinced as well. But I don't know if the Chargers score 27. Like, let's look at, again, some of their game lines this year. Not that it like entirely matters, but I think the Titans actually might view this game as like the one of the few they can win. And it is a situation where it's like now or never. And the Chargers for scoring points, I mean, yeah, they put up 37 on the Vikings. Couldn't get there against the Colts. Just got there in the last position against Miami. Against Washington, one of the worst defenses in football, didn't get there. Against the Giants as well. Not an explosive team. And again, I know that you can't really, correlate these exact matchups to the one they have now. You play the team in front of you, but to me, that's a ton of points, like a ton of points. And going back to RBDSM quickly here, Titans pass defense has been poor over the last couple of weeks as well. Just because it's Tennessee and it showed up in the EV, not a lot of times. I mean, listen, bro, if it's EV, like, don't get me wrong. Like, if the market is telling you and you just want to back the market, like, I'm never going to say, don't do that, because that's really the point of it. Just when, like, sometimes, especially with football, you got to put the ball knowledge. And I see the EV here as well. I'm going to go back to Outlier. I do see FanDuel has some EV to penny on this as well. So from that perspective, you go, have Kelly, like, it is worth a look, especially from the EV side. It's, if you're EV betting, right, you kind of really don't care about like the other factors at play. You're just like, okay, like I see EV, I'm going to bet this. But for a team total game line, especially on Wednesday, with limits not being that high, I don't know if this is necessarily like a pick off and like you're killing it here. I also think, again, it's just like a not as easy of a matchup, though. Herbert, with his complement of weapons, should be able to move the ball. I don't know. I don't. It's hard for me to see them scoring 28 points, but again, the market rules all. So if you're trusting the markets, then shut up. Like, I don't blame you, brother. No offense taken here. Touchdowns, though, I looked at LAD. I don't see very many players available. Let's take a look here. Chargers Titans. LAD clicked. Let's get off of that. Yeah, only seeing 365 prices, so I'm not going to call anything out here. But let's keep ripping. Obviously, with the World Series coming up, I am beyond invested. Obviously, I was up for that entire 18-inning game. If you guys weren't, do you guys even like sports? And we got this game at 8, so I'm definitely going to try to get off here with no Jake. So we're going to rip for the next 40. We'll get through everything. Gun to head here. I don't know. 43.5 does seem low, though, but it's like, how the hell do the Tennessee Titans score the football? They just don't, and the Chargers defense is great. And again, like, there are some situations where, like, for example, I had it wrong. It didn't hit, though. I will die on the hill that it was a good bet with the Commies and the Chiefs on Monday. I had the over because my thought process with the Chiefs were going to get theirs. Just need the Commies to potentially backdoor and get a couple of points. That didn't happen, as we know, because the Commies only put up a 7-piece. put all those turnovers in the first half. I think that game was destined for more points. But the point I'm making is like in some of these situations with a total, even if it's like this low, like the thought process could be like I expect one team to absolutely dominate and have the other team again just do their part, putting up 10, 14. But like the Titans scoring 14 points sounds like nearly impossible at this point, which is just absolutely sad. So again, by the time we're ripping stream Sunday, I'll have much clearer opinions, and I will have some stuff that I love that we lock in, but not right now as we're looking. And Minnesota, Detroit with a total of 48.5 and a spread of 8.5. Another one where I'm already just like, I don't know if I want to bet this game. I mean, we know the quarterback stuff that's going on. JJ McCarthy expected to play, if I'm not mistaken. They said week 9 he was coming back, and it is week 9. So we ask and we shall receive for the kid. Obviously Carson Wentz, we know, had that injury, and that was disgusting that we had the Chargers, so that was great. JJ McCarthy says he's ready to go. We know that we don't have a ton of data on him, and so far in very limited sample has not been good whatsoever for the sophomore technically. And the Lions at home. I mean, if you want to go head to head back to last year, we had Detroit win that one, and both of those games close spreads, though they ended up being absolutely dominant. Not that that necessarily matters per se, but worth putting out there. There's some injury stuff. It's questionable. So it looks like we might be getting some guys back. I know they just signed, Aiden Hutchinson to his big deal. The Lions are locking and loading their core. And on the Vikings side, have Ryan Kelly potentially out. This O-line, like with McCarthy, like I again find it really hard to see him like doing anything too well. And I think that again, like while Brian Flores always gets a ton of credit from me, I'm always like hesitant to bet against Flores. The Lions have their number, especially on the ground. So considering what they can do with running the ball, I think that the Lions can absolutely just run away with this one. Now, in terms of the total, I definitely like the under here. I can see the Lions putting up 30 themselves, but again, I struggle to see the Vikings putting up 19 points. Now, the Lions are also capable of putting up a 50 piece, but I think this total is a bit too high. So I definitely have a look toward the under there. Let's look at some of the player props and see if any touchdowns are available for this one. We have a bunch. We have Gibbs at minus 240, Addison plus 240. JMO, he's cooked at this point. Not like actually cooked from like an age or anything perspective. He's obviously a young kid, but he's so volatile, and it's possible to really like anticipate him to be part of the offense at just 190. What are the odds again? Plus 195. I think it's gonna be hard for them to score, like for the Vikings to score. I really do. And the prices on these Lions, man, they're just so low, but it's understandable because again, I could see them scoring at will. This 110 at 365 looks solid to the market for Amon-Ra. Of course, we know he is absolutely heavily targeted, especially in the red zone. Look, he's getting at one point he had 6 red zone targets against. I had 2 of the team's 6 actually. So that was going to say like 6 targets in one game in the red zone is for some players their entire season or their entire like month. Definitely lean to the under there. No touchdown that's jumping off the board here, but Giants, Niners. Giants, of course, coming off getting smoked. Cam Skattebo, obviously, unfortunately, hurt here. The Niners, they lost to Houston. We had Houston first half. That was great. A game that was even uglier than just a 9-point loss. It was a bit worse, especially in the first half. The thing is, Houston's defense is arguably the best in football, if not one. They're definitely in the top 3, and they're definitely in that top tier. Now you have, Mac Jones, or is Purdy playing? Let's confirm that, actually. That's obviously so important here. Purdy's still questionable, but we look to be limited to Wednesday's practice. So we still have to confirm with Purdy, though Purdy versus Jones, overall, I think is definitely, a downgrade Jones, but like with injuries, especially for quarterbacks, a mobile one at that with Purdy. And he still has that shoulder thing as well. I don't think Mac Jones is like a massive downgrade. Now, I know the Giants are going to be able to get pressure. Like this offensive line has been tough for the Niners. Of course, they're also without Fred Warner, as we know, got hurt a couple games ago. We got Ricky still questionable. Let's see this. Did not practice Wednesday. Again, I've been talking about how like Jackson Dart needs to like kind of come down eventually. Like, yes, they still put up a 20 piece without Scadaboo against Philly in that game. They lost by 18 points. I still think that there are tiers to this NFL stuff. There's tiers to football. The same way, like I had the Bills last week against Jake's Panthers, and like it's like you break down like who they played and like their strength of schedule and things like that. That's not tell the whole story. And to me, the story that I'm, I guess, telling myself per se is that like the Niners are still like a class above the Giants, even without their injuries. And we're only laying 2.5. I know they're going, of course, to the West Coast, to the East Coast. They were just in Houston, and West Coast teams, going to the 1 o'clock slot isn't ideal. I don't see the Giants being the Niners. I think that again, the Niners are like still like a much better overall team. I want to look at the market here and see like what's moved. If you can get like a 2 even. No 2 is available. What was a 3.5? So there was some Giants money expecting this game to be close. But again, like in a close game, like for example, like the Bengals and the Bears, like I think that could be a close game. I'd rather take the team with the 3.5 or the 3 than the Bears at the under 3 at the 2.5. In this one, instead of getting the 3 or even the 3.5 with the Giants, I'd rather take the road team, which I do think is a lot better, even though there are some matchup disadvantages there. I would rather take the Niners at the 2.5 than the home team getting the 3 and even at the key number. So I like the 49ers a lot. Let's look at some props to see if they are out just yet for touchdowns here. We'll take a look. Nope. All the injuries, just nothing to really work from. Obviously, Scadaboo, we don't know what's going to go on with some of the pass catchers as well for the Giants. We know, obviously, Neighbors is hurt. So not enough information there. So we keep rocking. Broncos, Texans. This game intrigued me. So Texans are laying 1.5. Texans obviously are 3-4. Not that record matters whatsoever for spreads. The Texans, this is a battle of two of the best defenses in all of football with Denver and Houston. And I understand why the Texans, while this total is 39.5, I still don't get why the Texans are minus 1.5. Now, let's we'll go back to RBDSM here quickly and look at some of these numbers. Like overall EPA per play, like this is far and away. It's just week 4. We'll go whole season just for holistic purposes here. Still 1.116 EPA per play. Like ridiculous. Then again, as we've progressed through the season, we'll even go to week 2 and get out that week 1 game. Texans, like they're continuing to improve defensively. And again, we keep going back to week 4. Like they are leaps and bounds better from an EPA perspective than the next team. Like they're putting up ridiculous numbers. And yes, we could look at like who they played and like go from that perspective because again, they beat a hobbled San Francisco team. They got smoked by the Seahawks, but that game was so freaking ugly. But like again, there were so many like defensive issues as well. And like the defense is the thing that kept them even in this game. Smoked Baltimore without Lamar and with many injuries. Smoked the Titans. Lost to Jacksonville again in that like ugly ass game. So it's not like they've played this like gauntlet or anything like that. They have not played, very many great teams, of course, outside of KC. Outside of LA, KC was last year. I was like, why is that showing up here? Outside of LA week 1, where again they did a great job holding them down. But I don't think those numbers are inflated, especially when you're playing Bo Nix and co. Like they did a great job against Dallas, but we know how bad Dallas is. We know what happened against the Giants at home. But then we see what happened in London with the Jets. Now that's against a Jets defense that was playing inspired, overseas, but obviously does not like have nearly as many offensive playmakers whatsoever as the Denver Broncos do. Like, but the thing is, like, they've been able to have so much success by pounding the rock, doing some great things on the ground, making Bo Nix's life easier. But that's not going to happen against Houston. I'm looking at touchdowns. There are nothing out except for 365, so there's nothing to bet here. With that being said, I am betting the Broncos. I like the Broncos on the money line as a road dog. Now I know this probably seems like a very square pick. I'm assuming a lot of people will be on the Broncos. A lot of people who just open their apps on Sunday morning and see 6-2, 3-4 underdog and bet that. Though I could see it, this price completely flipping by the time game time starts. And looks like it did flip. It was 1.5, got up to 2.5. But I could see this one flipping back. I know Bo Nix's limitations. I know the Broncos' offensive limitations. I know how good the Texas defense is, but I think the Broncos' defense is still somehow underrated. The Texans have only showed a pulse against absolutely abysmal, like horrible, horrible teams that they've faced. And on the flip side here, it's a coaching mismatch. Like I think D'Amico Ryans has done a great job with the defense, but in terms of like making the right decisions from a coaching perspective, I think he's done an absolutely terrible job, honestly. And I think that does equate to Sean Payton and co having the absolute ability to, um, run circles. Circles is a tough thing to say, but have the ability to like outcoach them and win this game. So I like Denver here. Let's keep it on going. Panthers, Packers. This one's an ugly one. Packers, it's hard to trust them to cover like a 14-point spread. I know how well Jordan Love played against the Steelers on Sunday. Absolutely balled out against Rodgers and co. Steelers defense, as we do know, is also horrible. So that's not necessarily like the biggest, flex per se. But at the same time, to me, what it really does come down to as well is that the Packers are going to have no problem running the football. That makes me intrigued by this total. But with that being said, we saw what the Bills did. Like they just ran the football. They got some fortunate turnovers as well. They still have that game go over with the Panthers only scoring 9. So I wouldn't look at the total, but I wouldn't lay 13.5 with Green Bay at this point because they're not a team that is a win by massive margin football team. Like look at again some of their metrics here. And we look at the games that they played this season. Like they won by 10 here. Could not beat the Cardinals by margin. Could not beat the Bengals by margin. Could not beat the Browns or the Cowboys by margin. Yes, they did against Washington there, against Detroit in week 1 as well. But that's ages ago in NFL time. And like, yes, they had some injuries and Parsons was like ramping up. But all in all, again, the Packers are not a win by margin team. But the Panthers also, I mean, like they got smoked in games where like they finally are like, or the market, I think, finally is like, all right, maybe the Panthers are like decent. They end up getting destroyed, as we know, against New England and against Buffalo. After they beat Atlanta, they covered against Arizona. But the Panthers, I think we can't forget that they still have like a bottom 3 roster in football, where the Packers are one of the best teams in football. So that's why I'm honestly not shocked whatsoever that the spread is what it is. But I would not lay it with the Packers here. I wouldn't bet the Panthers either, honestly. We have some touchdown odds up, so let's take a look here. Kraft being priced like the beast he is. Battle with the uncertainty. Now I know that the pass defense is good, but if like the Lambeau, like Parsons and co have, whether it's Bryce Young or Andy Dalton in a blender, we have the numbers up. So looking like it will be Bryce Young. Dalton's even questionable with the right thumb. I missed this. Did not even practice Wednesday. And Bryce Young was a full participant, so Bryce Young will play. Not that it matters. Like we spoke about Jake and I last week, it's like how much of an upgrade is Dalton or a downgrade or vice versa? And the answer is like realistically neither of those. Like he's probably the same exact thing, max a half point either way. Let's see, like Romeo at 130 is interesting. Emmanuel Wilson, low odds. Is Jacobs hurt? No, Jacobs, I know. So this is like probably so low. It's 325 here. So if 365, you bet this and don't think twice. Because potential garbage time that RB2 could get in and score. Maybe you bet a last touchdown there or something. I actually like this Golden price. I'm going to add Golden here. Yet to score, but this is a situation where he absolutely could score. And let's look at the like receiving metrics here. Go to his targets, like not a heavily targeted guy and a guy who converts a lot of his targets, like Jake and I spoke about last week. But against the Panthers secondary, I think that this could be a spot where is still 3rd overall in target share for this team. I like the Matthew Golden touchdown, scores first tutty at home against the poorest defense. Packers though 13.5. I'm not laying it. I'm also rather not bet the Panthers at this point. I know I could bet an ugly dog here and there. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the ugly dog that I love this week. And let's finish up the 1 o'clocks. We got the rest of the slate, of course. Keep pounding through here. All pun to the Panthers. Keep pounding. Colts Steelers. This is a hell of a game, honestly. Colts 3.5 on the road. Steelers coming off some L's. Now, something I think is a bit underrated. while Rodgers hasn't had to deal with Lou Anarumo, the Steelers are obviously familiar with the Colts DC from his time in Cincinnati. With that point, though, that those teams were never as talented as this Colts team, especially just with literal roster on that side of the ball. Um, I think, let's see, there's fresh threes in market. There has to be a 3.5 now. Yeah, Profit X. Market from down to 3. Looks like if these numbers are correct with this line movement, there was definitely some money coming in on the Steelers, which I do think is honestly understandable. Like I'm not really too shocked. Pittsburgh can't stop anybody though, and the Colts offense, as we know, is on another freaking planet. Um, but this number is telling me a lot about it. Total is 50.5. The question then becomes like, can Rodgers and this offense keep it up? And I think the answer probably is yes. Let's look at some of the totals. I'm actually more intrigued by an over here. 50 at Rivers, 115, 118 Hard Rock. I bet this over 50. I like this over 50 for a bet. We know what the Colts can do offensively. They just put up points like it's nobody's business. And yes, this total is ridiculously high for the National Football League, but the Steelers can score with the best of them also. Not the best of them, but they can score points in bunches. And as long as they're not, as Daniel Jones isn't turning the ball over, we see the way this market has moved in terms of the over. So it looks like they're the best price. Best time to bet the over was at open. I think that the Rodgers and co can still have success moving the football and putting up points here. There are some touchdowns. Colts, where are they? Colts Steelers. Look at some touchdowns. 265 only, man. So impossible. We'll be circling back on Sunday stream and Friday stream as always, but I like the over for Steelers Colts. All right, 4 o'clock, Saints Rams, another ugly dog, 13.5. Tyler Shough making the start. Spencer Rattler goes to the bench. Now I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, Rattler seems to be like he's good," and made some strides this year. But Kellen Moore and co would rather see Shough go, and now he has to go into the Rams, who have a great defense, who obviously have a fantastic offense, and now they're in LA as well, so not the the Superdome here. And the Saints, like they're just so ugly at this point. Like what they did last week against Tampa, a game where I thought maybe they could do a bit better. I did like the under, like I said, which was sweat free. The Rams, on the other hand, beating up on Jacksonville and on London 2 weeks ago, they had their bye. I think that you get the new quarterback boost. Is there a 14? There is a 14. There's even a 14.5 at Kalshi. Where else is there? At FanDuel. Ugly dog of the week is going to be the Saints against the spread. The new starter bump. The question is like, yes, Shough couldn't beat Rattler at a training camp. So I know a lot of times like this is a conversation when it comes to young quarterbacks. Like, oh, how can you think he's an upgrade if he literally couldn't beat the guy who he was trying to go against in training camp? But I think the Saints believed, I think rightfully so, that Rattler deserved a bit of a longer leash and a bit of an opportunity to prove he potentially could do it. And then now that it's kind of proven that he can't, that you make the switch. So I don't think it says a lot about Shough and kind of say that Shough isn't good. I think it's just the facts of the matter that it was time to maybe make a change and to see what your new rookie can do for you. So at 14.5, I think the new quarterback bump, the minimal tape, the first effort, I think is worth it for Shough. Now, the Rams pass rush could definitely be getting after him. And I don't know much about Shough's mobility. Let's actually do a little Google here. I'm curious if he had any movement at all in college. And he said they're planning starting for the rest of the year, they said already. So they're kind of making this declaration, and they're not they're making this declaration. They're already willing to give him the keys. Let's see. Passing, he played tons of time in college. I want to look at rushing though. So for only 42 attempts his senior year for 19 yards. Year before 48 for 194 playing in the Big 12, but not a guy with mobility. So in the pocket, there could potentially be a lot of issues that the Rams present them. But I still do think that 14.5 points is like honestly a bit of a crazy number. And yes, there's massive advantages for Los Angeles, but I think that the rookie boost is going to benefit Shook, and he might. I'm not going to say he's going to shock the world and win as a 14-point dog, but I think he absolutely can give this team a bit of an influx and touchdowns all 365 odds. So no touchdown for this one, unfortunately. But let's keep ripping here. Let's keep ripping. Let's keep ripping. Jaguars, Raiders. Jags only laying 2.5. Raiders, I think Bowers is back. Did I see that correctly? Let's look at the injury report here. De'Ami Brown's questionable. Jordan Lewis, Devin Lloyd as well. Brian Thomas questionable. These are for the Jaguars. On the Raiders side, Max Crosby showing up on the report as questionable, but not seeing Brock Bowers on the injury report. I think there was a report that he's back. And the thing is, like, he is totally their entire offense. Like, they are relying on him to be their guy, which is understandable because he's a freaking dog, and he was a full participant in practice today. But I don't know if like this one guy is going to change everything for Geno. And the Jaguars, like, they got smoked in their last game overseas against a Rams team that, again, is one of the better teams in the entirety of the NFL, especially the AFC. And, we lost to Seattle, coming off 2 losses after beating the Texans, Niners, and Chiefs, which all are pretty quality wins. Don't get me wrong here. Then you have the Raiders who got shut out by their division rival before their bye week. After barely beating the Titans, but losing 4 straight prior to that, and winning week 1 against Patriots game, Patriots team where week 1 is always like a bit of a wonky week in totality in the National Football League. I definitely like the Jaguars. They can definitely do more to get pressure on Geno. Like, their defensive line obviously is not great by any means, but all in all, Jacksonville, I think, just has more juice, even without BTJ. Like, Trevor Lawrence, I'm low on. Max Crosby can definitely ruin his day and like create a bunch of turnovers. I think that's very plausible. I also think this total, it's 44.5. Let's see if there's a 44 out there. That's bettable. Over at Profit X looks like it. I think this total is a bit low as well, because I think this is a game that ends up being a more like can have an offensive influx. I think it's not out of this world, rather than being, a total like standstill run game with like Genti. We know the Jaguars' run defense has been great. We know the Jaguars are hunting big plays. That the way for the Raiders to keep this one close has to be through scoring. They're not going to win a dogfight, I wouldn't think. So I actually do like this over here as well. So Jaguars and the over. The game of the week. Chiefs Bills. Now, you know me, boys. If the Chiefs had a plus sign next to their name, I would have bet it already without thinking twice. That being said, this is a matchup where the Bills, when it's any month besides January, do have the Chiefs number. They do play a lot better against the Chiefs overall, and they have won a bunch of these games in the regular season. If you look at the head-to-head, we only have 2 years back. Of course, we have the playoffs with the Kansas City Chiefs taking the W. And then we have the Buffalo Bills losing again in that regular season outing between them. But here's the thing. Kansas City Chiefs, we saw what happened in Washington. Like, they turned that first half was disgusting. They just Washington had no chance after that. Like, Mariota obviously is no Josh Allen, don't get me wrong. But when the Chiefs were able to pin their ears back and just go, it's tough sledding for whoever they face. Now, Josh Allen, of course, is the second greatest equalizer in the entire sport, compared to number 1 being, of course, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. This total also egregiously high, but like understandable. 52.5, like so high. Though these teams, of course, are good for the offense, and I think it might still be a bit low. Honestly, I like the over here. Obviously, it's square. This 51.5 at FanDuel actually looks pretty good. There's some EV to it as well. I think that scoring is absolutely going to pour out from both these teams. These are 2 of the best offenses in football outside of course, the Colts. Now, I entirely think that the Chiefs have not even hit the close to their ceiling on offense, and they're coming off some of their best offensive games. Let's go back to RBDSM quickly here, and let's look at these offenses. This is from week 4 on. So still without some Reshi, but still when the Chiefs' offense is starting to click, there they are right there. Second in EPA per play on offense. Success rate, oh, we're dropping here. So their EPA per play is low. What's the Chiefs? Oh, they're two. I'm blind. I was like, wait, did they have like off metrics there? No, Chiefs second in success rate. Mahomes when he's dropping back. Fourth success rate when dropping back. Now, of course, we don't even have full Reshi, but 60. The running game we know has been bad, but it has been a bit better. And defensively, the Chiefs, they've been like talked about having a bad run defense, but I think that was just early season kind of variance. And now at this point, the run defense is as good as anybody else's in football. The Bills, on the other hand, we know their defense is poor. We know that they struggle. And yes, you blew out the Panthers, but like that's not necessarily impressing anybody at this point. I think we see Superman for Superman, and that's going to lead to points. So I think that 51.5 over at FanDuel, that's what we looked at. Let me just leave to confirm that it's there because I love that bet for Sunday Night Football. It's not even Sunday Night Football; it's the game of the week. Yeah, it's technically an alternate total, but it's 118, and there was EV to that. 52 being a key number, 51 is a key number as well. But I think this is a scoring barrage. I love the over in that clash of the two Titans. I think it's also a great game for concocting your SGPs or having multiple legs of your SGP or your full parlay. Let's go look at some props here. Chiefs Bills. See if they're out. Yeah, they're got to be out. Cook at 140. Hunt at 110. We know he gets the goal line work. Worthy 190. I'm still interested in Worthy though. What's Rashi minus odds, man? I mean, Rashi writes it out of this freaking world. Kelsey. Kelsey's just plus 110. They still use him in the red zone. Josh Allen 110. And where's Patty? No odds for Mahomes just yet. I'm curious what Mahomes' pricing is. Definitely like Josh Allen with him last week. And Mahomes, I think you can be square in this one and do like a Mahomes and Allen touchdown parlay, both of them. Like I honestly do. I think we see a ton of points here. So that's my best look. Guns ahead on who wins. I'm always taking the Chiefs. The Chiefs are anything from minus 2.5 to plus anything. Of course, they'll never be more than say plus 3 max if even they ever get there. But if the Kansas City Chiefs are from again minus 2.5 to again plus infinity, I'm interested in the Kansas City Chiefs. Square, probably, absolutely. Do I care? Honestly, no. I think it's an absolute lock, realistically. And if I'm losing, like it's again a square way to think about it, but I'm losing betting on Patrick Mahomes to win a football game or to win and cover under a field goal, I'm always going to be interested. Absolutely always. So let's wrap up with the two prime times. Commies, Seahawks. KD5 practiced, that's nice. Laramie Tunsil, though. Left tackle, big acquisition. He was on the injury report. He left last game. See if he shows up here. Yep, questionable with a hammy. No more details there. Terry McLaurin, as we know, out with a quad. The same injuries had all year. He did make a couple big plays on Monday and scored that touchdown. But Terry contract already aging like milk. Washington getting 2.5. They've been much better at home in the Dan Quinn era. Seattle, Sam Darnold reinvigorated. Jackson Smith and Jigba reinvigorated. Absolutely balling out. How the hell are the Seahawks only 2.5? I spoke about this on stream last Sunday or last Wednesday when we were talking about Chiefs and commies. I said alternate line the Chiefs up to 12.5, up to 21.5. That would have lost, but like everything in between would have won. And the Chiefs obviously covered the base spread there. I think it's a very similar situation with Seattle. I guess the line really truly is 3 if this is the best 2.5 out there. So it looks like I probably missed the boat overall, though. This 2.5, if it is 119, I think it is better than 3. Of course, let's check the liquidity on Novik here quickly. Seattle's defensive front is going to put on a field day against Washington's offensive line. I know Jaden Daniels obviously has that boogie ability, but this 119 $7,664 liquidity. Give me all the Seattle road favorite here. The pressure that JD is going to be under is going to be immense. Their pass catching units are still poor, and Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak, I think, are going to put on an absolute clinic against this Washington defense. I'm going to switch over to the prop screen in a second. I think that if you want to cook up an SGP or like a parlay with like multiple games that I think could be like high scoring, I think you could target Seattle Seahawks in this Washington game, especially JSN will check the price. Chiefs Bills, I think anything can really go. I think that that's going to be a high scoring game. Again, market is the totals are there. I'm not, these aren't hot takes. Colts Steelers are going to 50. I like the over, so I think that that's a game for scoring potential and SGP potential. I want to see what JSN stuff is here. We're not seeing anything JSN except for 365. So again, nothing out just yet, unfortunately. JSN, it's got to be 90. Yeah, bro. Like Washington has no chance of stopping JSN. I'm glazing the Seahawks. It's less glazing the Seahawks AEC than talking shit about the commies. As a Commanders fan, I know you were on stream last Wednesday, brother, and on Sunday when I was talking about the Commanders and the matchup. Less glaze on Seattle, more Washington is dog water. If all those turnovers did not happen in that Washington Chiefs game, like I think the Chiefs would have very easily scored 35 points as they were right there on the doorstep, and that could have easily been at least 14 to 21. Probably realistic. We'll even say conservatively 10 points they left on the table, which is conservative for the Chiefs in the first half. Washington as well. I just don't. Again, like I know the Seahawks are a one-man show with JSN. I bet his under against the Texans, thinking best defense they face. They're not going to be able to just do whatever they want with him. 123 yards, did whatever they wanted with him. Washington is cooked, bro. They're cooked as hell. They're cooked as shit, and that's not surprising. Again, I ranted about this for a minute the other week with Jake, how the roster's in poor shape. It was never going to be this quick of a turnaround. Spoiled last year with the Jaden Daniels ascension and all the bounces going their way and playing these bad quarterbacks. They play real teams, real schedule. They had the negative injury luck finally, which it sucks. It's football. It sucks. It's football. But JSN, you'll never catch me betting an under on him again. I can't say that this season at all. But against Washington, absolutely not. The question is going to be the backfield with Sharp is even plus 105 and Walker 120. So don't know who's going to go there. And also with the Seahawks, they, do keep things relatively conservative between conservative is not the right word, but they keep it, pretty funneled with their target share. With JSN, we'll pull up the target share numbers, a 38%. And it's again, when is this going to drop? When is it going to drop? You watch the games, that shit's never dropping. They should continue to funnel the football to JSN, which is understandable. So I do expect him to have another absolutely massive game. And I just don't think Washington's going to be able to score on Seattle. Yes, Jaden's back, but this pass rush can get to Jaden. And Jaden hasn't looked that spry this year, even in the beginning of the season prior to some of the injury stuff. And now with injuries to his legs, that's been the problem. It's tough in this total. Believe it or not, I actually do like the under. Yes, their Monday night game flew under, but again, if you watch that game, and maybe I'm a bit biased because I love the over. I bet the over and lost. Tell me that first half that both teams combined didn't leave 25 points on the field, minimum. 24 points minimum on the field, that game was destined for an over. But I do think with Seattle's run game, and they're going to try to get their big plays with JSN. I'm sure they'll get at least one because with JSN it's automatic. I just don't know who in Washington is going to be converting the offense and making plays for them to move the football as well. So I think Seattle wins and covers, and I think this game actually does stay under this total of 47.5. That Texans game for Seattle, that game flew over, but that was, again, there was defensive touchdowns being scored. An under game against Jacksonville in a game that's supposed to be high profile. Buccaneers can sling it, and their defense is also poor, which is why this one flew over. This one stayed under. They're one of the worst teams in football with a 44-piece. It's also special teams touchdowns as well. Pittsburgh, we know defense is horrible. Game one under. Then the commie side flew over, just under by an extra point missing. Flew under, flew over, flew over, but they put up 41, which is not going to happen again, even with JD5. And then again, this Chiefs game should have flown over. So they're clearly like an over team Washington to the core. But I think in a game where even if they're in a pass happy game script in the second half, they're going to be under fire all game. Seattle very balanced. Both teams love to run the football as well. So I do actually really like this under. Let's see if there's even a 48 available, with 47.5 being 104. Yeah, there's a 48. MGM, this 48, 118. Hard Rock, of course, with 365 better. Profit X as well. Let's pull up the liquidity here. But I do actually really like this under 109. There is $686 here on Profit X, so pretty solid. 111 as well. It was also worth it, 1,400. So under 48 for this Washington game. And give me all things Seattle here as well. And I can't wait for JSN props to go because they're good. I mean, his baseline is 90, so you're not going to have much value like laddering that higher, but he's absolutely going to be focal point. Washington is not good enough or talented enough even to do like a bracket situation or anything. Like, I think he's unfortunately, I think Washington's unfortunately cooked for the foreseeable future. Their schedule does not let up either, but we got a World Series game on, so let's go for the final game, and then we'll recap all of these leans versus plays and touchdowns for this week. Not a lot of options up again on the books for touchdowns, so we haven't had many of them. Not going to just give out things if they're only at 365. Pricing rules everything for everything, but also especially for touchdowns. But Dallas slight favorites against Arizona. Arizona, of course, disappointing. Dallas coming off getting smoked in Denver, though Dallas has their home cooking going. Another game with a very, very high total. Going back to it, it is 53.5. I think the highest total on the board, actually. So definitely very much anticipated to be a scoring burst, which is understandable with how bad this Cowboys defense is. The Cardinals, on the other hand, they have been the struggle train this year, as you see by their record, though they're probably the best crappy record team in football. They're probably better than some teams that do have a better record than them. As we all know, record is like negligible realistically. Had their bye week coming off prior to that. 2 tight losses to the Colts and Packers, 2 of the premier teams in football after, losing to the Titans in a ridiculous fashion. And then, even playing the Seahawks as close as they did there. But then you have Dallas, who put up a 44 piece to then let up a 44 piece the week after, which is hilarious. But this Cardinals offense, I mean, they're going to try to run the ball. That's what they want to do, and Dallas's run defense is abysmal. They're coming off their bye, and we see this so frequently when teams are bad at something, going into their bye like early in the season, like they come back, like they're not changing personnel, they're just like emphasizing those things they do poorly, especially run defense, where like football, of course, is like a man on a man game, which I mean, of course, like you want to overpower your opponent, and like running the football is the way to do that. So I can see Arizona having success on the ground, and honestly pushing this total a bit, making this total seem a bit too high at 53.5. Is there a 54? There's a 54.5 even at Kalshi. DraftKings 110. I think this is a bit high. I'm not going to lie. Love myself some fun football games with some points, but I think considering Cardinals' pass defense is actually, and I'll switch over to RBDSM, it's not that abysmal. I mean, 25th in dropback EPA, success rate 26. So maybe the numbers, this is the West, some week 4. We'll go full season. So maybe it is worse than I anticipate. EPA per play overall, like 20th, obviously not great. Success rate 28th, so bad. Dropback 21st. Dropback success rate 28th. So teams are having a great, a lot of success dropping back. But the best way to play defense in the NFL is to not play defense. So I think the Cardinals are going to definitely try to rely on that ground game. I think this total is a bit too high, 54.5, because I don't know that Arizona is going to be explosive enough. We have perfect conditions, of course, for Kyler Murray and co. And we have post-bye week and Dallas' defense that is abysmal, but not a lot of touchdown stuff. Right now, it's an under for me. I'm not locking this in. This is, like, again, like a lean. But that's my strongest thoughts here. Now I know you ran through the board pretty quickly. No Jake, so just one sided here. I love the comments from everybody. Shout out to you guys on YouTube. I really appreciate you guys, like more than you guys really probably even realize. So shout out to you boys. Thank you all for showing up. Let's run through my gun to heads, and I'll tell you which ones are like actual plays versus gun to heads. And all of these opinions are subject to change besides the plays for stream tomorrow, Friday, and Sunday because one, new information, two, the market. So Ravens spread lean, Patriots spread lean, Cincinnati money line play. I love the Bengals money line. I would definitely find a 3 and bet that as well. I think Cincinnati is going to win, and I think they cover 3. Lions, Vikings under 48.5 lean, Niners minus 2.5 play, Denver money line play, Colts Steelers over 50 is a play. It's not available at FanDuel, but it's available play. Spread Saints plus 14.5 lean, Jaguars minus 2.5 lean, over 44 is a strong lean. I forgot where it was available at Profit X. Actually a play, I would say. Chiefs Bills over 51.5 play. Seattle Commanders, Seattle minus 2.5, under 48 play, and lean to Cardinals Cowboys under 54.5. Now to the touchdowns. Not that many games with touchdowns available, but love me some Zay Flowers. Bijan at 130, like give me all of that. Jamar Chase prices are pretty bad, but I definitely lean Jamar. And 2 ones I love as well, Josh Allen and Matthew Golden. So I'll wrap it up, boys. Let's go watch some baseball. World Series, of course, season's about to end. Hopefully we're in for another electric one. I'll see you guys on stream tomorrow for the Thursday night game. And best of luck with your bets tonight. I'll